what would be some of the keys of success that you've had that you would give wisdom to impart?
So a couple of those, I would definitely say follow the lean culture mentality. Having those meetings, that constant check-in and coaching and learning is imperative. Otherwise, you just kind of lose touch with your people and it just becomes an everyday grind all the time. Having that time
Mm.
also set aside to develop the business and having everyone their feet on the ground developing the business means that you don't have to develop every single portion of the business. Other people can do that for you. And then again, just following the wisdom of all those smart people in the world. That replacement ladder that Dan Martell has set up is genius. Had I followed that better along the course of my history, me handing my hats off to other people would have gone flawlessly. But instead, it was just this jumble of me trying to figure it out for myself, which is just kind of the dumbest way to go about it.
Well, welcome to the podcast. Nathan Newberry here, your host. I have Adam here who is on the call here today. Adam, super stoked that you're on the podcast today and going to talk about what your life and your story here.
Happy to
But
be here. Thanks for
tell
having
us
me.
a little bit about like what you do, man. Yeah, tell us a
So,
little bit about like your high performance. Like tell us before we jump into your story here. I want to tell us the story or the what you think the definition of high performance is.
honestly, high performance is just sticking to it, right? Getting those simple
Mm.
habits in place that keep you moving because life's just an uphill battle. And if you stop, you start to slide back down a little bit. But if you just keep moving, you make it.
Yeah, that's so good, man. That grind, that grit is always the obsessive part of an entrepreneur for sure. Well, tell us a little about what you do, man. Tell the audience this so they have some context of what you do and how you help people.
Yeah, so we are custom cabinet manufacturers in St. George, Utah. We work just about anywhere, though. We expand our reach quite a long ways. But really, for me, cabinets and the business itself is just a way to have as big of an impact as possible on people. So at work, we are super duper duper focused on personal development and business development. We have morning meetings every morning where we teach and train our guys about life and we have them set goals and learn how to grow. And then we even have devoted time after that for 30 minutes to just let them hone in their skills. Whether it's making a jig for building something easier, watching a YouTube video to learn a skill, or just cross training each other, it's 30 minutes of free time to just make their lives better.
Cool, man. How long have you been doing that for? How long have you been helping people build this cabinets and woodworking? I know you probably done it since you grew up, but how long have you had this business that you've been crushing it with?
So we've been in business about 11 years now. It's been awesome, and we've been
Yeah.
growing and figuring everything out as we go. Because I'm a first generation everything. I'm a first generation college student, first generation business owner, first generation all of it. So lots of failures and lots of learning along the way.
Amazing, man. It sounds like you've built a pretty cool culture in your company, which is always inspiring because not everybody knows how to do that or what to do or how to apply some of that. But bring us back to the beginning, man, of like your entrepreneurship journey here. What were some of the struggles or things that you've dealt with that you had to learn the hard way with that maybe you can impart some wisdom to some of our hearers here?
Okay, yeah. So again, about 11 years ago, me and my one of my best friends, Danny Burks, we were friends in high school. We were shop nerds. We worked at several wood shops together, just out of high school, and we just kind of out of nowhere decided to start a wood shop. I went to school, graduated with a bachelor's, and just tried to figure out something in the corporate world for about a year. And everything just seemed kind of miserable. And I was like, damn, man, this just does not seem like fun. And my dad had been pestering me to move back to St. George, where my family lives, because one of his firefighter friends had just kind of stopped. He was running a cabinet shop for a long time, but he had some family issues and he was just done. So there was a bunch of machinery just collecting dust. And my dad said, hey, just come move back, buy the machinery, start your own thing. And to this day, I'm not 100% sure why my Dad had enough faith in me to do that because that sounded like a huge undertaking, which it definitely was.
Yeah.
But we jumped right in. We started the way we had learned in every other business that we worked in, as far as building the cabinets goes. So we would set up one day and we would mill all of the hardwood, and then we would cut all the parts for the boxes of the cabinets, and then one day we would paint or stain all of the parts. And we were really working in a pretty inefficient way, is the best way to put it. It would take us 2 to 3 months to build all of the cabinets for a house with just the two of us. And one day, one of the guys that was selling hardware for a company at the time, he was selling us handles and hinges and glides and all this stuff. He came in and he just dropped off 2 books. And he said, "Hey, there's a better way to do this. Read these 2 books and let's see what we can figure out." And super sweet guy. Since then, I actually convinced him to come work for me because he saw what we did with that over the past several years. But one of the books was
Wow.
2 Second Lean by Paul Akers. This guy is from your neck of the woods up in Washington State. And what he did is he just took the Toyota manufacturing mentality and boiled it down to a blue collar mentality. And he's like, "Hey man, just if you can fix anything enough to at least save a couple seconds, that's awesome. Just do it and keep compounding that over and over and over again, and you're going to have an amazing life." The other book was this one called The Goal by Eliyahu M. Goldratt, which is basically just all it
Yeah.
focuses on is the theory of constraints. So you have a bottleneck, find it, fix it. And with those two mentalities in mind of like, there's a major problem, find it and fix it, and hey, why not work on that for a little bit every single day? My brain just kind of snapped. I spent the whole next week staying up all night, making spreadsheets, something I had never tinkered with in the past, trying to figure out, like, man, we could almost predict when we could get done with a house. We could almost predict how many cabinets we could build a day. We could actually figure this out. But a
Mm.
week without sleep is kind of a bad thing. So by the end of it, my sweet wife over here actually committed me, and I spent a few days in the nut house trying to fix myself. So spent a few days in there and finally got the sleep I needed. They tested me for drugs a lot, and there wasn't any in my system, but then they gave me a whole bunch so that I would sleep. But that was the start of a journey that just hasn't ended. We jumped right in and started doing those morning meetings and started doing that lean improvement time every morning to just try to get that ball rolling. And honestly, all it is good habits. So we built those good habits in, and those good habits have morphed and changed and gotten better over the past 10 or so years. And of course, we've run into a million roadblocks along the way. COVID was probably one of the biggest of them. At that time, my business partner, Danny, he got a divorce, hit a midlife crisis, left the business. We also dang near went belly up. The housing industry here in St. George skyrocketed during that time, but the houses weren't getting built. They didn't have any materials. So
Mm.
people kept coming in and handing me money and handing me money. I'm like, yeah, life is good. But we couldn't build anything. And I had to pay payroll, and I had to pay for the power, and I had to pay for everything. So that money started getting burned up and burned up and burned up without
Mm.
actually completing the sales. So that year we got boiled down to where we had to get rid of half our crew. We had to cut ties with a few contractors and pay them back all of their money. And we dang near went bankrupt for several years. We're barely honestly
Wow.
coming out of that over the last year or two here, but it changed us completely. We figured out how to hone in on the money and connect it to the cabinets even better. Same mentality from back when I was like, holy cow, I could probably predict how many cabinets I could build a day. Now the dollars are connected to it even better than ever. And we're just figuring out as a group and as a crew how to ramp that up and really just provide a better life for all of the people who work for me and for all of my customers.
That's awesome, man. I love that you're an obsessive learner, as I am, and I think many of our students and listeners here are just similar to you. With just like they understand the challenges, and they still like look at the eye of the storm and like chase after it. You're an obsessive person. I love that. What were some of the things that you got out of it most that were like some character traits of things that you've learned, or some principles that have learned that you can apply here and help our hearers
Yeah,
gain
so
and get some wisdom from.
yeah, to speak to that learning, I think that's the part of the journey that I've never given up on. Even for the last couple of years where I
Yeah.
had to hone in and like get in my turtle shell and survive, I never stopped trying to learn. So it's been a little spiral of events that actually led me to meeting you, where I had, Paul Akers, this guy that lives up in Washington State. I talk to him pretty much every week. I've been leaning on him pretty hard as a mentor, and he's amazing. He has a community called the 2 Second Lean Community, and we meet up once a year in different parts of the world. And just last year, we met up in Ireland. And there I met another awesome guy who is an author as well. Talked to him a bunch. He wrote a book called Improvement Starts with I. His name's Tom Hughes. And I chased him down and I was like, hey man, you should come hang out with me at the shop and just help me figure some things out. And he did. All I had to do was pay for his plane tickets, and he came and hung out for an entire week. And he slid a book across the table the last day, and he's like, I think you need this. And that book was Buy Back Your Time by good old Dan
Yeah.
Martell. So as soon as I read that, I was like, holy cow, here's that next step in my journey. So really the thing I've learned most over the years is that there's like 10 million people in this world who have something to offer you, right? Everybody in this world, I think it's Napoleon Hill says, every man is your superior in some way, and of this learn of him. So chasing down that information and constantly being humble enough to find stuff that you don't understand, that somebody else is better than you at, and to take part of that and build it into yourself. It is a very tricky thing because I have been told from time to time that I bounce back and forth from ways of life because I'm learning something new. But to take it and build it into yourself and say, okay, what bit of this makes sense for me and can help me grow on my path has been an amazing journey.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And you're married. Do you have any kids too that's running around there?
Yes, married. I have 4.5 kids. So, got a big family.
How do you how do you manage everything from the day to day with the family life and your business and your obsession to learn and grow? How do you end up balancing everything there?
It's just habits, man. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
It was in, I think, one of your podcasts or Instagram posts. You talked about, there's no such thing as work-life balance, and I would say that that's kind of true. Like there's eras of your life, right? Seasons of your life. And during those seasons, you need to pivot and focus a little bit more. And the only way to really do that is to have really good habits. And those habits have to be built around your time and your schedule and all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the very many books that I read and implemented into my life was Miracle Morning. So I wake up really early and
Yeah.
I try to get all of the things that are important to me done so that my glass is full, right? I've exercised, I've read, I've learned, I've uh, done some silence and some affirmations and visualization and some journaling. All those things get done before the chaos of the day rains down. And
Mm-hmm.
then just, sticking to that calendar, sticking to the schedule, going to work for the amount of hours that I should go to the work for, and then coming home and spending time with my family is super important.
Amazing, man. Let me ask you a random one. What's your everyday carry? Is there anything unique that you bring with you when you leave the house?
Everyday carry. That is a really interesting question, and I do have a good everyday carry. That used to include a concealed weapon, but they're just so uncomfortable. But I do always have a pocket knife, and I always have a Sharpie. I love to be able to just
Interesting.
mark and label things on the fly, and it's super funny because all of my kids and all of my employees know exactly where to find a pocket knife or a Sharpie when they need it. And luckily, they're all trained well enough to put them back when they're done too.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, so if you were going to start your business all over again, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 11-year-old, back 11-year-old self from your business? What would you tell yourself?
Honestly, I think the thing I would tell myself most is let go. Over the last just year, I have been letting go more and more of the tactical portions of the work. I have extremely capable people, like super capable. And I always had my head, my hands in on the work. And it's because I care so much.
Mm-hmm.
But in all reality, I wasn't enabling those people to do the work as well as they could. And from an entrepreneur standpoint, there is a growth journey where you wear a lot of hats, but you have to strategically take those hats off and hand them to people one at a time. And I didn't do that super well. It was kind of sloppy and messy because I honestly didn't know what I was doing very well. But we've finally gotten to the point where I'm letting go of pretty much everything, and I'm just there as a support role, as a coach, as somebody that they can call on when they need a little bit of help, but I'm not going to come in and do the work for them.
How many years did it take you to kind of develop that letting go mentality and instructing versus doing? Because most business owners, they're micromanagers down to the dot and explanation point. What did you have to learn, or what were the main principles that you had to really kind of do to do that? Because that is not easy for a business owner at all.
No, it's not. And honestly, just the continuing to learn and read. I read Buy Back Your Time and Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz, kind of back to back. It was one
Yeah.
month to the next. And both of those guys are just like, hey, plan out your time really well. And Michalowicz is like, plan a month off. Figure out how to get it to where you can take an entire month off. So I took Dan Martell's preloaded year, and I took Mike Michalowicz's idea of taking a month off, and I went through and plotted out all of 2025 and 2026, and I'm like, all right, there's my month off, and I'm going to work backwards and plan several weeks off as trial runs, which this week is one of those weeks. And it forced me to deal with that micromanagement issue. And I mean, the pushback from the people is funny too, because I've had guys in the past that very hardware salesman that I convinced to come work for me. He's like, dude, you're always putting your meaty fingers in everything. Just stop. Let me do my job. And I'm like, all right, I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so in the replacement ladder of after being in the leadership role now, if we're looking at, Dan Martell's model, maybe this is helpful for people. He talks about buying back your time. You have to have someone that does the fulfillment. Sounds like you got a team to help you do it. And then you have marketing, and then you have sales. And then after you replace yourself in the marketing departments and the sales department, and then you're a leader and you're a coach and you're delivering that. What are the things you're doing now to replace your time? It's this season in St. George, that's good golfing. What are you doing with yourself?
No,
How are you replacing
honestly,
your time with now that you're at that point?
yeah, like you said, I'm obsessive. I have not replaced my time with anything that anyone would consider fun. Work is fun for me. Puzzles are fun for me. So instead of replacing it with golf, which St. George is probably one of the best places in the world to go golfing, I replaced it with a consultancy cycle that I've created for myself. It's just something I've been kind of dabbling with over the past several years. And this week that I took off, my wife, it was funny. She was like, I thought we were going to like hang out, like go do stuff, but you've been working like almost more than when you go to the office. And I was like, yeah. So I've just been diving in to figure out, okay, how can I find my constraint? And now it's not necessarily a production constraint. It's finding the coaching constraint. Who do I need to focus on? Who do I need to coach up? How can I help them? And then I just jump in and do it. I already did one run of it over the last month, and it was super fun. And I've got the next one set up. I rely on my leadership team to kind of guide me, like, okay, which branch of the business are we going to hone in on, the office, the shop, or installs? And then I jump in and I work with the leader themselves for about a week, and then I let the leader guide me to any of the employees to coach for the next couple of weeks. So replacing my time, it's just been replaced with jumping back into the business and sharpening it up even more.
Nice. If you were going to help a new entrepreneur start a business or encourage an entrepreneur that's still crushing it, but they just need more clarification because we all need motivation sometimes to just get our butt in gear, what would be some of the keys of success that you've had that you would give wisdom to impart?
So a couple of those, I would definitely say follow the lean culture mentality. Having those meetings, that constant check-in and coaching and learning is imperative. Otherwise, you just kind of lose touch with your people and it just becomes an everyday grind all the time. Having that time also set aside to develop the business and having everyone their feet on the ground developing the business means that you don't have to develop every single portion of the business. Other people can do that for you. And then again, just following the wisdom of all those smart people in the world. That replacement ladder that Dan Martell has set up is genius. Had I followed that better along the course of my history, me handing my hats off to other people would have gone flawlessly. But instead, it was just this jumble of me trying to figure it out for myself, which is just kind of the dumbest way to go about it.
Hmm. Yeah, man, I appreciate you jumping on here and like helping us giving insights of like some of the things that you're doing and how you're really kind of implementing everything that you're learning. Because so many times people are obsessive with learning, but they don't apply it either. And it sounds like the craft of this last decade has been trial and error of perfecting and putting into action the most important things within a business to get it to a point that you're at right now where so many people wish they can get to, where they have the ability to kind of buy back their time, really have more freedom in life and finances, and in also the impact that you're even making with your team. It eludes people. And by having the intentionality that you do, you've been able to get to that place in your life and your business. So a hat off to you with getting to that point that so many people are trying to push toward. It's not easy to do, but as you're helping motivate and help encourage people, I see it. You want to help people and build a culture within your company that's fantastic. How can people get to know you and follow you? What are some best places that people can connect with you further?
Yeah, if you want to follow us, we've got Prestige Woodworks on Instagram. That's where you can see all the pretty pictures of the amazing homes we work on, which in St. George, they're pretty crazy. We're talking anywhere between 10 and 20,000 square foot homes. They're monsters. You can also follow me personally at AAA, those are my initials, .lean on Instagram. That's just kind of my personal account where I throw everything from family to learning to my personal habits. Just really a playground for my own thought process is all that is.
That's fantastic, man. Well, I appreciate you being on. Any last words to jump in here and share with the audience here?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that you and I probably have in common that is extremely important to the entrepreneurial role is connecting what you do to a higher purpose. Money is important for sure, and having more and more of that money gives you more freedom, which is something that I've had to learn over the last decade or so. But having a higher purpose, something that connects you spiritually to God or whoever you believe in, is something that will actually make you tick. It's something that will actually get you to success. If you don't have that, it will end up just being a business and a job at some point.
So true. We appreciate you being on. Guys, the links are down below. Connect with Adam. He's an amazing guy, implementing all sorts of cool stuff to follow him on his journey and his business. And we will see you next time.